Welcome to Inside the Mavs, presented by Aura. My name is Kevin Gray, Mavericks pre- and post-game host on the Dallas Mavericks Radio Network. Appreciate you joining me here for this latest mini-sode on Kevin Gray Sports on YouTube. Make sure you like and comment on the video, and you can subscribe to Inside the Mavs, the official Mavericks podcast of 97.1 The Freak, wherever you get your podcast for free on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Make sure you give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Mavericks deserve 5 stars after beating up on the Utah Jazz, getting the 113-97 win at home over the Utah Jazz, as the Mavericks now move to 22-15 on the season, a season high 12 games above 500 at 41-29, and are officially in the 6th spot in the West by virtue of the Sacramento Kings losing to the Washington Wizards. The Phoenix Suns taking out the Atlanta Hawks means that the Mavericks move to 6th, the Phoenix Suns move to 7th, and the Sacramento Kings fall from 6th to 8th, of course, with the 2 games looming large next week when the Mavericks visit Sacramento on the road as they begin their 5-game road trip with the Utah Jazz on Monday. And then, of course, they take on the Sacramento Kings for a couple of games that will have huge implications on the Western Conference playoff standings. But we'll wait till we get there. It was about what happened on Thursday night at the American Airlines Center as the Mavericks visited Dunk City, getting a franchise record 18 dunks, including 10 from Daniel Gafford, as the Mavericks used 18 assists on 23 made field goals in the second half to take care of business against Utah. The Mavericks have now won 7 of their last 8 games, are 15-6 in their last 21 games. And think about this. A team that coming into the game against Utah was only averaging making 11 3-pointers a game in winning 6 of their last 7, only made 10 3-pointers in the game against Utah, as they now have won 7 of their last 8 games, as the Mavericks are now 3rd in the NBA in offensive rating and 12th in the NBA in defensive rating over their last 21 games. And this is something that we've talked about plenty on this show and on this podcast, is that if the Mavericks could find a way to somehow play average defense, we know that they're going to score with the best of them, led by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving was a plus 37 in this game and had one of the highlights of the game as well, with his alley-oop dunk off the pass from Luka Doncic in transition that brought the house down. But the Mavericks are defending at a high level. You saw it in the game against Utah, where Utah only finished the game 4 of 30 from downtown, was 13% from 3. The Mavericks in this game were able to force 18 turnovers, scoring 19 points off of those 18 turnovers, outscoring the Utah Jazz 27-10 in fast break points, getting out in transition, finishing with authority at the rim. And this team is rolling right now. And when you look at their win profile, their win-loss profile over the last 21 games, this is a team, of course, that won 7 straight games, then lost 5 of 6, and now they're on a roll again, winning 7 out of their last 8 games, with their only loss being on the road during this 8-game stretch against the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road. And Luka Doncic in this game, setting the tone on the defensive end, had a season-high 4 steals in the game against Utah. The signature play for him, getting a steal on Keontae George, falling to the floor on his backside, throwing an over-the-shoulder pass to Kyrie Irving in transition, who throws it up to Derrick Jones Jr. as they visited their version of Lob City all night at the AAC, as Jones finished it with authority at the rim. And that was the theme of this game against Utah, forcing the issue against a team in the Jazz who, coming into the game, were dead last in the NBA, committing more turnovers than anybody in the league this year on average. And while, yes, Utah is a terrific rebounding team, a top 5 rebounding team in the league, the Mavericks were able to take care of business on the glass, out rebounding Utah 43-38. So they did the things that you had to do to beat a Utah team that, yes, coming into the game had lost 14 of their previous 17 games, were on a 3-game losing streak coming into the game against Dallas, but one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA, a team that loves to share the basketball. But you did the thing that they are not able to do, which is protected, and you forced, as I mentioned, the 18 turnovers, and you out-rebounded them, one of the best rebounding teams in the league. So you did exactly what you needed to do to win this game, and you did so in a big way against Utah. Before we go any further, let's hear from today's partner of our video, and let's hear from our sponsor in Aura. Today's video is brought to you by Aura. Do a Google search on your name and email address to see how much information comes up about you. I was devastated by the amount of information that I could be seeing searching my name and profile, and I knew then I needed to be protected for not just myself, but also for my family. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use this information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It's really easy to set up, so I don't have to download several different apps to get things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more. I get everything at one affordable price. You may already have one of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on, doing the hard work to protect me and my family so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/Kevin Gray to start your 2-week free trial. Please see the link in the description. Back here on Inside the Mavs. Appreciate you hanging out with us through that quick break there. And thank you again to our sponsor of today's video in Aura. We were talking about how the Mavericks, of course, have found themselves a season-high 12 games above 500. They are about to embark on their longest road trip post-All-Star break with a 5-game road trip that begins with a game in Utah on Monday. So the Mavericks will have a few days off before they take on Utah in Salt Lake City. And then, of course, the 2 big games against Sacramento on the road as they look to continue to control their own destiny. But in this game against the Utah Jazz, the Mavericks were able to control the glass. They were able to get out in transition, and they really took over this game in the second quarter. When you think about what they were able to do, closing that second quarter on an 11-3 run to take a 53-42 lead into halftime. Luka Doncic knocking down 2 3-pointers in the final 35 seconds of the second quarter is where things really turned for the Mavericks as they were able to hold Utah in that second quarter to just 15 points. And you saw how good they were defensively, being able to stop the Utah Jazz, especially who were dreadful from 3 in this game. We detailed it a little bit earlier on how poorly this team shot from downtown. Just to remind you, they went a paltry 44 of 30 from downtown. But the Mavericks were able to take control of the game in that second quarter. Luka Doncic scoring 9 points in the game. And again, it was your 2 superstars along with the supporting cast of Daniel Gafford, who really was able to dominate, whether it be in transition, finishing with authority at the rim, being able to take advantage of pick and roll situations, and finishing at the basket. Daniel Gafford continues to be spectacular for the Mavericks, who are now 7-1 when Daniel Gafford is in the starting lineup. Gafford in this game, of course, finished the game with 24 points. I mentioned the 10 dunks that he had in the game, part of a franchise record, 18 that the Mavericks had in the game against Utah. He was a plus 25 on the night. Derrick Jones Jr. also in double figures, going 4-4 from the field, finishing again with authority in transition, the highlight play of the game that we detailed a little bit earlier. But Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic combining in this game, when you look at it, combining for 50 points. You got the 34, of course, from Luka Doncic and the 16 from Kyrie Irving, who was a plus 37. Also in this game had 7 assists, and he continues to set the tone for this team in terms of bringing energy and leadership, and Luka Doncic stuffing the stat sheet as he always does was 11 of 23 in this game. You say, Kevin, this is awesome. This is great. The Mavericks are defending. They're punishing teams in the paint. They're finding different ways to win, which is extremely encouraging because this was a team, and we detailed a little bit earlier, a team that was only averaging 11 made threes coming into the game against Utah, only made 10, going 10 of 32 for 31% from downtown in the game against the Jazz on Thursday. And yes, what's concerning still is, while, yeah, they are dominating folks in the paint, they're rebounding at a high clip, they're able to win different ways, the shooting, especially from three, which has been a hallmark of this team, especially throughout the course of the year, has simply gone away. PJ Washington was 0 of 4 again from downtown. Tim Hardaway Jr. 0 of 3 from downtown. Maxi Kleber seems like he's starting to break out of it a little bit, going 2 of 3 in the 3 attempts that he had from downtown in the game against Utah. But it's something that has to be watched and considered as the rest of the season goes on, because with the amount of new identity that the Mavericks have created in terms of their physicality and their ability to punish teams, they've got to find ways to continue to keep defenses honest, especially with their abilities to knock down the three-pointer. And that starts with P.J. Washington and, more importantly, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Maxi Kleber. Because if Kleber is going to continue to close games, he's not only going to have to be a valuable piece on the defensive end, he's got to be able to consistently knock down some shots to be able to stretch the floor on the offensive end. Tim Hardaway Jr., who early on in the season was playing like a sixth man of the year candidate, has just seen the bottom kind of drop out of it during the second half of the year. Again, he has got to be a guy that provides you more scoring from the offensive end, especially knocking down threes. You're seeing a little bit better decision-making from Tim Hardaway Jr. in terms of passing up three-pointers for better shots for teammates to be able to get easy buckets at the rim. Another bright spot in this game, Jaden Hardy as well. You look at the time that he had, 17 minutes, was a +6, had 6 points in the game, making plays for Daniel Gafford on a couple of plays to get him easy dunks at the rim as well. Jaden Hardy is starting to grow in terms of his role, and when he's had the opportunities to play, has made the most of them, and you're continuing to see that from him every time he has an opportunity to get on the floor. So there are positive signs from Jaden Hardy in terms of his playmaking, getting a little bit better as a decision maker and passer that you saw evidence of in this game as well against the Utah Jazz. But yes, that is concerning when you're looking at the three-point shooting of the Mavericks. And also didn't shoot great from the free throw line. Mavericks went 17 of 28 from the free throw line. Really could have put this thing away if they had made a few more of their free throws. But again, nitpicking at a game where you were able to dominate on the defensive end, holding Utah to 97 points and able to ensure yourself that you are moving forward with the momentum as you get ready to go on this 5-game road trip that has massive playoff implications with your first game against Utah. And then, of course, the 2 games, as we mentioned, against the Sacramento Kings, trying to now maintain that 6th spot in the West. The Mavericks have done the hard part in climbing and getting to this spot. We know how treacherous the West has been all season long with how good the Western Conference has been, and the Mavericks have been scratching and clawing to get themselves to this position where they can secure their playoff spot, in the top 6 of the West going into the playoffs and not have to worry about dealing with Kevin Durant and Domantas Sabonis has been a triple-double machine this year for Sacramento. Obviously, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis with the Los Angeles Lakers, Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors are always dangerous. This is what the Mavericks have been working toward and look to continue to move up, as now, as I mentioned, half game up on Sacramento. Obviously, what they're doing in terms of what they need to do to win those couple of games to maintain that. But now you're a game and a half behind the New Orleans Pelicans for 5th in the West. And that for them is the next goal here as they continue to move forward. We know that their win percentage for their opponent is under 500 for the rest of the season. They now have a chance to continue this great ride that they're on and maintain consistency because, as we mentioned in detail a little bit earlier, the roller coaster that this team has been on over the last 21 games, winning 7 straight, then losing 5 of 6, now back on a roll again, 7-1 in their last 8 games. That has to even out and continue to play at a high level and being led by their defense, which they were able to do throughout the course of this game, as we detailed specifically in that second quarter, really taking control of this game, and were really able to go on to win from there, really blowing things up as they took a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter and really putting things away from there. The Mavericks, again, playing another complete game, being able to handle themselves on the defensive end. But I'm loving what I'm seeing in terms of the physicality. You've got to be able, in a game like this, against an opponent that you had 13 turnovers, but at the same time, you turned them over 18 times. So the Mavericks did a lot of good things in this game that you can continue to watch and go forward for them as they get ready for this, as I mentioned, 5-game road trip, their longest post All-Star break. But the athleticism that this team played with, one of the things that has been detailed for this team going into the year, and we've talked about it a little bit, and you saw that come to full fruition in this game, the athleticism and the length, their ability to play with pace. Jason Kidd wanted this team to play faster. They've been a top 10 pace team all season long. The amount of athleticism and their ability to finish in transition, whether it be with Derrick Jones Jr., whether it be with Derek Lively, whether it be with Daniel Gafford, there are a number of guys that can get out and run the floor and really put pressure on defenses to where you can find different ways to win games when shots aren't falling. And this team is showing enough maturity now, it appears, to be able to handle and withstand adversity when shots aren't falling, to still do the other things to win games. And that is what winning basketball is. Finding ways when things aren't going your way to be able to still contribute, whether it be getting 18 assists on 23 made field goals, turning a team over that's notoriously bad for turning the ball over throughout the course of the year, doing all the little things, your superstar diving on the floor for loose balls, setting the tone on the defensive end. Those are the signs of a maturing basketball team. And maybe that's the direction that we're seeing this team now go, is with that maturity and that poise. We know how good they've been in the clutch this year, winning 20 games in clutch time, which is the best in the NBA. This is the profile of a team that you can take more seriously going into the playoffs. And give credit to Tim Legler of ESPN. My man called out the Mavericks and said this team has got to defend much better if they are going to be taken seriously in the West. And guess what? Over the last 21 games, they're 12th in defensive rating. They're taking the defensive end much more seriously. And with the offense that we know that they're capable of, they're putting it together at the right time. Now, as they get ready to go on the road, can that defense travel with them to be able to take on and take out teams like Sacramento, who have had their number, especially offensively, in a guy like De'Aaron Fox? But all that will remain to be seen as the Mavericks get ready to continue now the final 12 games of their regular season. It should be a lot of fun now that we've completed 70 games of this NBA season. But the Mavericks get a 113-97 win at home over the Utah Jazz. Get ready to take on Utah on Monday in Salt Lake City. Appreciate you joining me here for this latest mini-sode of Inside the Mavs. Make sure you download and subscribe to the Inside the Mavs podcast, the official Mavericks podcast of 97.1 The Freak, wherever you get your podcast for free. Join me for my latest full episode on Friday. Mark Followell of Bally Sports Southwest, the terrific and amazing Mark Followell, who, of course, does the play-by-play for the television side for the Mavericks. He'll be joining me on Friday's episode of Inside the Mavs. And you can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Again, download and subscribe to the podcast where you get pods for free, and also like and comment on this video as well. Until Friday, I'll talk to you then. Peace.